Hi guys, welcome to Mama Ring. I'm Mao Mao. In this video, we are going to talk about
How you doing?
not the flirting part, but let's focus on the greetings. The regular tone "How are you" is a common greeting that can be used for casual situation to English speakers, and it is translated as 你好吗 in Mandarin Chinese. But if you greet to a Chinese person,
你好吗?
don't worry, we won't mean mug you for sure. After all, we've been hearing foreigners greet this way for a long while, so a lot of us kind of expecting this greeting happen, and we will friendly respond 我很好，谢谢你呢 or 我挺好的，谢谢你怎么样 But did you know that this answer does not sound native Chinese? It is actually translated from English. So here's the thing, the greeting that we learn in our English 101 lesson is Hello, Mao Mao, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. And you? I'm fine too. This is what English beginners think native English speakers greet each other, and 你好吗 is what Mandarin beginners assume native Mandarin speakers greet each other. And that's why not a lot of us feel weird hearing 你好吗 asked by a foreigner, even though we don't greet each other like that. After all, we have this unified textbook standard answer for it. I'm fine, thank you, and you? 我很好，谢谢你呢? We don't have any other answer for this question, 你好吗 in our textbook, such as
Good enough, so far so good. Or I'm feeling a bit on the water, I'm struggling a little bit, can't complain.
etc. Nope, no such answers. But not because we want to be polite, but 你好吗 is a really tough and tricky question. 你 means you, 好 means good, fine, 吗 does not really have any meaning. It's just a question particle in Chinese grammar. So 你好吗 literally means are you fine instead of how are you. Let me give you an example. Hi my dear YouTube viewers, are you fine?
I'm fine.
I'm okay. No, I'm not.
But then why would we translate how are you as 你好吗 at the first place if neither does it mean how are you nor do we have this convention to greet each other like that? That leads to another question. Why do we translate hello as 你好? As I said before, 你 means you, 好 means good, fine. So 你好 literally means I wish you good, I wish you fine. As you can tell, 你好 contains more meaning than hello. I think the real equivalent word to hello should be a. In my hometown, we speak that one dialect called 吴语. When we bumped into our friends or acquaintance on the street, we normally just say a. Hey, 毛毛. Oh, hey, 毛大毛. This is a very casual way to greet each other. A is an interjection. It can mean a greeting sound according to the Chinese dictionary, 新华字典. But then, why didn't we translate hello to a? To figure out this mystery, you got to know that Confucianism was one of the most influential philosophies in ancient China, and the main idea of Confucianism is to emphasize the importance of having a good moral behavior such as respect, altruism, and humility. Because think about this, one's respectful attitude to the parental authorities, emperor, and the government can actually help to strengthen and stabilize the whole community, right? But asking a whole group of people to always be very respectful is not that easy. I mean, everyone has his own temper, different characteristics, right? So a strict rule of behavior was very necessary because everyday behavior can actually gradually, imperceptibly, and subtly change people's thoughts. And back then we had really strict standards of greeting to the high authorities. the relationship was unequal and it's something that we should abandon today. I mean, we definitely are not strictly follow every rules now, but Confucianism also emphasizes on compassion to balance the unequal relationship. It requires the more powerful party to show their moral concerns to their subjects in order to encourage them willingly respect their superiors. So this is mutual. That's very clever. And that's why Confucianism has prevailed for thousands of years. And it still has some redeemable points today. For example, we are still encouraging kids to show a lot of respect to their teachers. And at the same time, the teachers are required to show a lot of concern to each kids in their class. Not only out of professional ethics, but in terms of this Confucianism, social ethics. Another example is that the employees need to show enough respect to their supervisors, and in return, the supervisors also need to be very concerned about their employees. I mean, ideally. And one important way to show their respect is through daily greetings. In that case, instead of just using a conventional word to draw others' attention, we also need to make sure to wish each other good as well. When kids meet or bump into their teachers, they need to greet 老师好 or add the teacher's last name in front of 老师. 徐老师好, 张老师好, 李老师好, which means they wish their teachers well. And the teacher needs to wish the kids well back by normally just saying 你好, but sometimes they add the kid's name in front of 你好. For example, 小毛毛你好. In certain cases, one may be friends with his or her boss after work. But at work, when that person meets his or her boss friend, he or she needs to wish that boss friend well by saying 老板好 or 总经理好, or add that boss' last name, and it will sound like this. 王总好, 徐总好. Wang and Xu is that person's last name. 总, the character itself means whole, like over, and it actually stands for 总经理. That means like the leader of all. 徐总好, 王总好, and boss would reply by wishing him or her well back. Alright, let's back on track. So to wish someone well is the most common way to greet others in China. Whether it's family, friends, or strangers, older generations or little kids, the person that you need to show your respect to or the person that you need to show your concern to. A more specific way to address them is by adding their name or title before 好. 徐老师好, 小毛毛好, 徐总好. But the general way is to just say 你好. Now everything makes sense, right? Hello is the most common greeting word in English, and 你好 is the most common greeting word in Chinese. That's why hello was eventually translated as 你好, even though the meaning of these two words are a bit different. Here's an interesting phenomenon. Today, when we greet to others in China, a lot of people use this format. Hi, 你好. Hello, 你好. This shows, first, we fully adapt the English greeting way, and some of us would also add some Chinese flavor to these words by making the vowels longer, like hello, 你好, hi, 你好. Alright, second, we feel something's missing by just saying hello or hi. To us, wishing others well is subconsciously necessary. Okay, we can go back to the first question. Now, can you guess why we translate how are you as 你好吗 in spite of the different meanings of these two phrases? Because we just simply turn 你好 into a question by adding the question particle 吗, 你好吗, since there's no equivalent greetings to how are you in China. Well, there actually is a similar one, meaning-wise, not usage-wise. 你最近怎么样? 最近 is normally translated as recently, lately. In English, recent or recently is belonging to a past period of time comparatively close to the present, right? But in Mandarin, 最近 includes near past, present, and near future. 最 means most, extreme, extremely. 近 means near, close. When we're talking about 最近, we assume that the reference point is the present. So 最近 means the period of time that is very close to the present, near past, near future, and also includes the present. 怎么样 means how, and 你最近怎么样 means how was you recently, how are you now, and how will you be in the near future. It might sound a bit too intensive, but you don't have to answer all three of them. It's okay to just pick one or two to answer. For example, 最近忙死了，昨晚刚刚通宵赶来的，后天又有个大单子要进来。就还是老样子，就上班，然后打打游戏，逛逛街，跟朋友吃饭，就这样。你呢？你怎么样？最近可好了，我有没有跟你说我上个月交了个男朋友？ As you can tell from the answer that the person who answers the question must know the person who asks the question. And that's true. We don't ask strangers, 你最近怎么样? The reason that we ask others how they was, how they are, how they will be during this period is based on that we knew how they were before this period, or even just at a certain period before 最近. If you ask someone you don't know, 你最近怎么样?
你是，我最近挺好的，你呢？
Or 你好吗?
还行吧，就这样。
To greet strangers, I would say 你好 is enough.
哎，你好。
Except using 你好, 你们好 to greet to any Chinese people, and using 老师好, 老板好, 爷爷好, 奶奶好, 叔叔好, 阿姨好, etc. to greet to some certain groups, and using 你最近好吗 to greet to someone you know. There are more common and useful greetings in China, but this video is a bit too long already. I'll introduce of them in my next video. Alright, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.